Hello everyone, welcome to Papa Sky channel. So in this video, we are going to discuss about how we are going to create a product backlog right now, which we call Azure Stories in Jira, and how we are going to create the epic features and tasks from scratch. And if you did not refer our previous video where we have talked about how to create a project in ADO first time from the scratch, go ahead and refer it. So assume first time when you are creating the epic in the ADO, so you need to go to the board setting, and from the board you need to click on the backlog. Once you are in the backlog, you can see the new work item. Click on it, and this is the section where your first epic will show, and give the meaningful name of the epic. So you would be discussing the epics which should be part of the current sprint or the future sprint with your product owner or business analyst. So for example, I have one epic written over here which is talking about the enhanced user shopping experience. So we are going to create this epic on the board. So select this epic description first in the heading and click add to top. So you can see our epic has been created, but it's just a description, one line description. We need to add more details on that. So on the description section, you need to put the details about what is this epic about. So I'm copying the description from here and putting underneath. So that's the one aspect. Second aspect, you can see that is the acceptance criteria, which is very important. And if you see, most of the product owner or the business analyst, they usually don't put the acceptance criteria, which is one of the parameter of creating either if it is a pick or the stories or the feature, right? So we are going to create acceptance criteria for this epic. I have some acceptance criteria which has been written for enhanced user shopping experience. So I'll just take from that. Yeah, okay. So once you have put the acceptance criteria, then there is some more important fields in the epic which is usually recommended by your organization, or if your team has been decided. So one field is that assign field. So currently you can see this field is an unassigned state. So I need to assign this epic. Usually the epic has been owned by the product owner. So for example, if the product owner of this epic is Shubhankari, I'll add her name, and then the state of the epic. If you feel that epic is not started yet, keep it in the new, and if you think it is started, put in the in progress. So I am keeping in the in progress. And the iteration path is nothing. This sprint is going to finish on which iteration. So ideally, if you see, epic cannot be finished in a one sprint. So, and it is possible also, if the epic is very small, it can finish, but assume here the epic is not finishing in one sprint. So what I am doing, instead of putting in one sprint, I'm just putting into the backlog, and then I'm moving to the next field, which is the start date of the epic. So if you think this epic is going to start from, take example from the next sprint, which is going to start on 26th. So please put the start date as 26th of December, and target date. This target date usually come with your development team who is going to work on this epic, based on their available capacity and the estimation. They would have come with some rough date that when this epic is going to finish it. Assume this epic is going to take a 2 sprint time, and current usually my sprint is 2 weeks. So first sprint is going to start on 26th, which is going to finish on 6th of January, and the next one will be starting from 9th of January, which is going to finish on 20th of January. So I'm selecting 20th of January as target date. Priority is important. So priority usually it comes from the your product owner. What is the priority of this user story? It may be depend on your what is the business value in that, how much this epic is critical, what's the value it is giving to the end users. Based on those factors, usually the PO will give the priority. Assume this epic is a high priority one which has to immediately start, so we'll put the priority as 1. Effort you can put if you are aware about the effort. For example, this usually some of the organization use the t-shirt sizing, some use the Fibonacci series. If we think this epic is a complex one, so usually the scale is in the Fibonacci series started from 1 2 3 5 8 and 13, where we say one story point is a simple is a story which can finish in a day, or it's very simple followed by the other stories. So we are saying this epic is a quite complex one, so I'm putting the story point 8. Then, and this scale can be differ team to team, and your team can decide what is the mean by one story point, what is mean by 5 story point, what is mean by 8 story point, and the business value. So what is the business value it is giving? So usually the business value in some organization, they are having a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is saying that it is giving the highest business value and 10 is the lowest business value. So we are saying the business value for this epic is a 1. Okay, so these are the some of the field whenever you are creating the epic, make sure that you are putting because if you see a lot of POs, what they does, they just create a epic one-liner epic and keep that field empty, and because of that we ultimately turn into the chaos. Once you create the epic, click on save and close. So you can see my epic has been created, which is an enhanced user story experience. The next thing is that I need to create the feature for this epic. So instead of going here and there, you can see the plus symbol over there. You can directly create the feature from there. So once you hover over the feature, you will see it is showing me the option as add feature. Just click on that and your new feature has been come. So I have a feature written for me for this epic. So let's create a feature. So assume for this epic, enhance user shopping experience, I have a feature called simplified checkout process. That's the one of the feature of this epic. So I'll just click on that. Then again the description about this feature, and you can see over here it is written in the proper format, like as a user, usually mainly the role, then the what is the feature action and the benefit value. So this is one of the most recommended value to create a feature. Also the user stories, where we talk about what is a role which this functionality is going to do that, and what is the action it is going to do that, and what is the benefit or value it is going to provide it. So I'm taking this feature over here. You can see this feature is saying, as an online shopper, I want a simplified and intuitive checkout process so that I can complete my purchase quickly and without confusion, leading to a more satisfied shopping experience. So that's your feature description. It has to be in format. Next important aspect again is the acceptance criteria. So what I am expecting out of this feature. So here is my acceptance criteria for this feature. Like, I want a checkout process should have a minimum number of steps required to complete a purchase, and it should provide a clear instruction and information for each step of the checkout. Ability to review the order summary before finalizing the purchase, and option to save payment and shipping information for future purpose, right? So once you put this detailed acceptance criteria, it will help your business to understand what is the expected outcome of this feature. Also it will help your development team to clearly create a user stories or work on the implementation phase. So always make sure your acceptance criteria is very clear and it shows what is the expected behavior. Once you created the acceptance criteria, then you need to assign it. Usually the feature also belongs to your product owner. So select your product owner names. I have select the product owner as Alina, then put the state. If you think that this feature has been already started, keep in new. If it's not started, keep in new. And if you think that it has started, what you can do, you move to the next state, which is the in progress one. And the iteration, right? Again, if you think this feature can be finished within a sprint, you can select the appropriate sprint, which it can be part of that. But if you think this feature is going to finish in a multiple sprints, then you keep into the main parent part, which is a which you can see here. For my project is a Papa Sky. Underneath I have created a multiple sprint, but I know this is not going to finish in a sprint, so I am keeping in the Papa Sky. Then if you know the target date of this feature and the start date, put those start date. I know this feature is going to start from the next week, which is 26th, and assuming this feature is going to take a 3 weeks time, so from 26th 3 weeks, it is around 13th of January. Priority, if the priority is high, keep it 1. Effort, I'm putting the 8 story point. Business value, what is the value this effort feature is going to provide, I'm keeping as 1. So these are some field for a feature which you need to select that, and it differ from your organization, show organization, team to team. If you think that I need to add more field in the features, you can add from the customize option, which you can see over here, but this we are going to cover in the next video. So I'm just clicking on save and close. So now you can see I have a epic, now I have a feature. So we have created two layers. Now let's move to the third layer, which is the important one, which we call the PBI, product backlog item, in the Azure DevOps, most widely used term, and a lot of people call as Azure stories. Because in the Jira, if you see, we usually create Azure story, but both are the same thing. So for creating the product backlog item, you no need to go anywhere. You can see the plus option there. So if you hover over there, it is showing add product backlog item. Just click on that, select as a product backlog item. So now we are moving to create a user stories. So I have some user stories which is there for the simplified checkout process. So you can see first user story is saying implement streamlined checkout interface. So that's the one story. Note one thing over here, under one feature we can be having multiple user stories ideally, and here is a catch now. Usually the user story should be finishing within a sprint. If the story is not able to finish in a sprint, try to split the stories into the small so it can finish in a sprint. So I have put the name of the story. Second important thing is what is the story about and the user story format. So you can see over here I've used the proper user story format for this implement streamlined checkout interface. Like as an online shopper, I want a streamlined checkout process with minimal steps so that I can complete my purchase quickly and efficiently. So that's the one format most widely used, and it's talking about the rules, what is the value, and what is the outcome, and the acceptance criteria. So the acceptance criteria for this user story is like minimize step, where the checkout process should consist no more than 3 steps, then autofill functionality followed by clear error messages, mobile responsiveness. So this usually acceptance criteria would be defined by your product owner, and while you're doing your product backlog refinement activity, your team also can provide some more refined acceptance criteria based on the discussion, which should come over here. So once you put the acceptance criteria, now you can see the important field, assigned field, right? Now here is a catch. If you have noticed in previous epic and the feature, sorry, we have put the owner of this epic and feature as a product owner, but the user stories usually belongs to the developers who is going to work on those user stories. Take an example for this user stories. Krishna is going to work it, so I have put that developer name, and the stories is a new state now because he did not start on the stories. And if you can see over here, it's not allowing me to save and close the stories. The reason behind that, I have made some field very mandatory for this is the stories, uh, which you can also make it. For example, here assignee to field I have make it mandatory. The reason behind that, which during the sprint planning meeting we have decided that for this user story, two developers is going to work on that, right? That's the one struggle. If you see a lot of scrum master face where they think we are having two assignees, two people who is working on the user story, but I am not able to find the field in the Azure DevOps where to the assignee to field, right? So this field assignee to, you can enable from the customize button and add a new field, which maybe we'll cover on the next video where we are talking about how to create and customize a new field. So you can enable this two field, and for example, I know in this story Krishna is going to work on that as well. Along with the Krishna, I know Elena is also going to work on that, so I have put that assigning to name over there. Now you can see the save and close option enabled for me, and it was not enabled before. So I'm saving it. I'll show you one more important aspects over here. You can see if I remove the acceptance criteria, and if I try to save it, You can see I'm able to save the acceptance criteria, but how I'll make this acceptance criteria mandatory? Why I'm asking that? Because most of the time when the PO or anyone is creating the story, they do forget the acceptance criteria. Then we run behind, usually as a scrum master or a project manager, we chase behind the people to put the acceptance criteria. So there is a provisioning in the ADO also where you can make this acceptance criteria as mandatory. I'll just show you a quick glance. Go to the customize option. Once you are in the customize option, you can see the acceptance criteria. This is the set of field which is already there in your user stories, and just click on this three dots, click on add it. You can see and click on the option. So you can see if I have a checkbox like required. If I click on that, it will show that this acceptance criteria is mandatory, and without having this acceptance criteria, you cannot create a user story. Okay. So let's put the acceptance criteria value over here, and then the iteration. Now we can select the iteration because usually the user story should finish within a sprint. So we decided this story is a part of a next sprint. Assume the next sprint is a sprint 9. So I have selected the sprint value. Start date and end date is optional because anyhow the story has to finish within a sprint. But if we put the start date, for example, it's going to start on 26 and it is going to finish in a week, including a developer tester, we can put it. Priority you can put if it is, take example, the story is a 5 story point, we can put it. We have separate story point field for that, so I put the story point field for that, and then we are good for the user stories. Save and close, right? So this is how we easily create a user stories in the Azure DevOps. Also, to ensuring that we are putting the proper format, acceptance criteria, who is the assignee for the stories, and if you are having the two assignees, make sure you are putting the two assignees under the user stories, and the important field like story points. uh, okay, so that's on the user story or the product backlog item, right? Now let's move to the last thing, which is the subtask, right? Usually people, if multiple people are working under the user story, take example if you're a developer, front-end developer, back-end developer, or the tester, automation tester, manual tester, UI, UX, right? So if multiple people are working parallelly, how I know that who is working on what, right? For that, there is a provisioning in the ADO as well as in the Jira that we can create a subtask. So for creating a subtask, again, just click on this plus option, which is on the user stories. You can see you are having the option add task. Just click on that and you can add a task over here. For example, I want to add a subtask like order summary page development. I'll click that. I add a description of the subtask. Then I know this one of the developer, take example Prashant, is going to work on that, and this is in this current sprint only. And yeah, there are some important fields for a subtask which you can consider it, like what is the effort you are going to put on those subtasks. It can be in terms of a story point, it can be in terms of hours, and also you are having the original estimates field. For example, we based on your capacity on this subtask and during the sprint planning, the team has decided, they are saying that this subtask can be finished in 8 hours. So put the 8 hours. Then if you want to put the start date of this subtask, you can put as a, if this is the first subtask, and target date. For example, I am putting as a 30th. And if there is any risk on the subtask, if it is not finishing on the time, you can put it. For example, if this other team member are dependent on this subtask, so and if it is not finishing, other will be blocked. So you put as a risk as a high. This is an optional field. And if your subtask is blocked, currently it's the new ones, it's not blocked, but you can put the block reason also, because of ABC reason it is blocked. That's the original estimate, right? And save it. So you can see we have created a 4 layer in the Azure DevOps, started from your epics, simplified checkout process, which is your feature, then user story, your task, You can also create a bug if you see that some bug has been identified during your developer testing or testing manual QA testing, right? So you can create a bug also in the ADO. Okay, so this is how you can create a epic features, user stories, and tasks in the ADO. So you can see I have created multiple epics. Underneath we have multiple features and stories followed by bugs and tasks. Similarly, you can do that in your ADO. So yeah, so this is how we can create the user stories in the ADO and introduce the different layers in the ADO and assign those stories for the multiple teams. And from this backlog, then you can start assigning those stories on the corresponding sprints, which we can discuss on the next video. Yeah, so this is it about for the creating the product backlog items, followed by the Apex features, then the PBI, then the task in the video. If you like this video, just hit on the like button and subscribe. And also we are having a multiple digital products on the Jira and the Scrum Master interview preparation. If you want to look on those digital products, you can check my LinkedIn bio page where we have listed down all the items. And if you want to look for any things, just ping me. I am just one click away. Thanks everyone. Thanks for watching this video. And please subscribe if you did not subscribe this video already.